present India. Okay, now what was the judicial status? Okay, so here we'll see that for the first time in the ancient history that the civil and the criminal laws would be separated. Now what are the criminal laws? The theft, okay, the murder, okay, whatever this kind of things, activities are this, they are the criminal, okay, activities, and this criminal activities needed some different punishments because they were very grievous. Okay, so here the criminal and the civil activities, or the criminal and the civil legislations, were separated for the first time in the Indian history. Okay, theft and adultery had the criminal law, and the property related issue had the civil law. Okay, now there were various courts at the different levels. Okay, so here at the local level there was the Karana. After that, the Adhikarana, which we just discussed, and after this, Ahar Masana. Okay. After this, the Varna system based the legal punishments. Okay. The Varna system based legal punishments were being followed during the Gupta period. So, what kind of punishments? The person belonging to the higher strata of the Varna system, for example, Brahman, Kshatriya, okay, they used to have very lesser punishment. Whatever crime they create or whatever crime they do, okay, they used to be given, they used to be having the very low punishment. Okay, they used to have low punishment. But if the same activity, same criminal activity is being done by the Shudra or the Vaishyas, they used to have higher punishments. Okay, and major of the punishments were the fines that were putted on the criminal. Okay, so majorly the fines were putted. Okay, there are also evidences of the death statement, but not much. Okay, so majorly there were fine statements only. Now let us just compare the differences between the Mauryan and the Guptas. Okay, so we have seen the craft and architecture, we have seen the polity, okay, we have seen the normal overview. Okay, of course we are going to have the clear-cut discussion on the society as well, but let us first discuss the differentiation between the Mauryan and the Gupta period. Okay, so here the Mauryans were centralized and the bureaucratic. If you imagine the Haranyaka dynasty, if you imagine the Shishunag dynasty, if you imagine the Nanda dynasty and the Mauryan dynasty, okay, they were majorly the centralized dynasty. Okay, they didn't focus on the village administration at that pace or at that extension as what we do today or during the Gupta period. Okay, so here we would be having the centralized and the bureaucratic differentiation, where the Gupta period was the decentralized, feudal and quite flexible. If we consider the higher profiles, the more number of higher profiles were being employed at the state level also, at the central level also, and at the local governance also. So it is quite flexible. Okay, that if any of the person gets any issue or the challenge, he would be visiting directly to the head of that particular block, to the head of that particular village, or to the head of that particular district, and his issue would get sorted. Okay, but in case of the Mauryan Empire, you see that if any of such issue arises, whether it is criminal, whether it is civil, he has to either shut his mouth or either he has to go at the higher authority where he would be denied. Okay, so we see much more political stability, judicial stability as well during the Gupta period. Okay, the second difference is around the provinces. So during the Mauryan period, we'll find the royal princes or the governors, who today in the Gupta period we also call them Uparikas. Okay, so they were aided by the Mahamatras. Okay, Mahamatras, the provinces called Janapadas. Okay, so they had their own power, but there were some of the limitations that they used to execute this power only after the signal is being proceeded by the provincial authority. Okay, but here in the Gupta period we'll find that the Uparikas, Bhuktis, have more autonomy for the governance. Okay, they would be having more powers and the rights to implement their powers. Okay, so they were having more autonomy. Okay, the officials during the Mauryan period were extensive bureaucratic. Okay, for the executive, judicial and the economic task. However, in the Gupta period there were few officials like Uparika, Gramika, Vishyapatis and the assemblies. And as there were assemblies being presented during that time, we see that the number of officials during Gupta period is very less. Okay, but if we see the Mauryan period, there was absence of the councils. There was absence of the council, and that is why we'll see that more number of officials would be present during the Mauryan period. Okay, now the district level administration was run by Rajukas and the Pradeshikas, whereas the district level administration during the Gupta period was being run by the Vishyapatis. Okay, the village headman during the Mauryan period was appointed and monitored through the centralized orders. Okay, that is right from the king. Okay, but here the Gramika led the villages. The elder assemble people used to choose one of the eldest person as the head of the council. So the decision was put on the local system only, but here the final decision was centralized. That is, it would come from the centralized council or the centralized king or the authority. Okay, so here we'll see that during Gupta period we'll observe the decentralization, we'll observe more autonomy that is being given to the local governance. Okay, after this, okay, here the autonomy during the Mauryan period was quite low and the autonomy during the Gupta period is quite high. Okay, so here the revenue system, the next difference is the revenue system. Now during the Mauryan period, okay, the revenue collected was the directly collected revenue, and it was totally dependent upon the older system that were carried out since the later Vedic period. Okay, that is, the land was directly being taxed. Okay, and it was taxed in the very older like system. Okay, the same amount was being taxed. Okay, it was not kept on the variations, it was not customized according to the conditions. But when we come towards the Gupta period, okay, this tax would be collected firstly by the local assemblies or the local lords, and secondly it was based on the customized availability of the conditions. Okay, if there is any kind of drought or no rainfall during that period, so during that period the tax was being resumed. Okay, so we'll see that due to this, we'll see that there would be reduction in the collection of the tax during the Gupta period. Okay, now if we talk about the military control, okay, so here as the administration system was quite centralized during the Mauryan period. Okay, here we'll find the larger military system, but it is totally centralized. But when we come towards the Gupta period, we will find that the military, there would be standing military, but it would be at the provincial levels also. Okay, so here again the decentralization in the military administration. After that, the feudalism was not that present or not that tighter during the Mauryan period, but yes, during the Gupta period, the feudatory states, or what in the inscription it is being termed as Samantas. Okay, so the Samantas were present on the larger scale in the Gupta period. Okay, Samantas means the feudal states. Okay, now after this, the integration of the regions. Okay, now here when we talk about the Samantas, now what is the difference between the Samantas and the normal provincial region? The major difference is now the Samantas would be collecting the tax and they would be using this tax for their own goods. Okay, for their own demands, for their own supplies within that province. But the normal province, okay, that would be collecting the tax, they would be using some of the revenue for their own purpose and some of the revenues to the central government. Okay, so this is the difference between the normal province and the Samanta province. Okay, so the Samanta provinces or the feudatory states grieved during the Gupta period. Okay, and this was one of the major reason for the emergence of the independent states again. Okay, so here the significant accommodation of the local custom and the practices were being supported during the Gupta period. So the local customs, local deities, local cultures were being supported at the gram levels or at the village levels. But here during the Mauryan period, whatever the king establishes would be followed by each and every tier of the government. Okay. Now the economic policy, here during the Mauryan period we had the state-led economic policy. If you go through the Arthashastra, okay, now who had written Arthashastra? The Kautilya or the Chanakya, right? Now the Kautilya writes the Arthashastra. He places all the policies and the laws that should be implemented in the administrative purpose, revenue administrative purpose, and the same law is being carried out and implemented in each of the region. Okay, but when we see the Gupta period, the economic system is more liberal, that the governance, local governance is set free to follow their own ways, their own policies to establish a good revenue governing system. Okay, so yes, autonomy here is also a good in the Gupta period. Okay, so in this way we completed the provincial and the local administration with respect to the Gupta Empire. In the next session we are going to have the social perspective of the Gupta period. Okay, thank you. Please try to solve all the PYQs which I have shown in the lecture. Okay, if we see now, some of the PYQs would be solvable only after having the post Gupta period. Okay, so but whatever are necessary you can solve this. Okay, now we are about to go on this time frame, and that is why we can't solve this now up till now. Okay, so we'll be solving, but till then stay alert, very alert regarding all the sources that we acquire of during the Gupta period. Okay.